Have you ever noticed that a very small, very insignificant action is the biggest warning sign that something is broken in your house? And if you find out that the people closest to you are silently cutting you out of your own life, how will you choose to react? Explode or act like someone who is ready to win? I am Amy Blake, 38, a college professor in Cincinnati, Ohio, who thought she had a pretty good family until I came home from work and suddenly found my mother-in-law carrying a pot of red flowers out onto the balcony. I dragged my suitcase through the front door, drenched from the rain, hoping my husband Jason would miss me after a week of conferences. Nothing. No hugs, no hey honey, nothing. Just silence. Except for the faint clinking of the pottery outside. My mother-in-law, Helen, was on the balcony wrestling with that damned pot of red butterfly flowers like it was her life's mission. "Helen, what's wrong with that pot?" I called, kicking off my wet shoes. She didn't even look up. The wind's coming, but the sky was clear. I knew something was wrong. I'd seen her move that pot before. 3 months ago, when I'd come home early from a presentation in Chicago. Jason had been nervous, stammering about needing space. I'd brushed it off as a fool who trusted my husband. But this time, the way Helen clutched the pot like it was hiding state secrets? Yeah, I didn't trust her weather forecast. I forced a smile. "Okay, Helen, wind. Got it." I'm a professor teaching literature to college students who think spark notes are a personality trait. My job is hectic, conferences, grading, office hours, so I travel a lot. My dear husband Jason used to be a gloomy artist who painted meaningless abstracts that never sold. Now, he's a stay-at-home dad to a 6-year-old son Noah and seems to have adapted to job applications. I don't mind much. I thought we were a team. Me, the moneymaker, him, the one who made sure Noah didn't eat the crayons. Then Helen, who moved in to help but mostly just rearranged my kitchen and sighed like I was disappointing her son. Good times. Back to that night. I dropped my bag down the hall, expecting Noah to snuggle up to me. Instead, I found him asleep on the couch, his fingers covered in marker. Cute, but where was Jason? "Upstairs," Helen said, glancing over with the pot still in her hand. Her eyes darted away too quickly, like she was hiding a corpse. I shuffled into the bedroom ready to sleep, but Jason wasn't there either. Just his phone, vibrating on the nightstand. I didn't look, but the temptation was real. For the next few days, I couldn't shake that thought. Not just that night. Every time I came back from a trip, that red pot of butterfly pea was in a new spot. The corner of the balcony, under the porch, once even in the damn living room. Helen always had an excuse. The squirrels might chew it, or it needs shade. Jason chimed in once, completely nonchalantly. "It's just habit, honey. Habit, you son of a bitch." Their stories didn't add up. Helen's wind excuse came up one day, so the plants still looked bored. Jason's habit sounded like he'd practiced it in front of a mirror. Then I started noticing other shit, the faint scent of perfume in the living room that wasn't mine, a coffee mug in the sink with lipstick I didn't wear, Jason's shifty look when I asked about his day. My brain was like paranoid. I feel paranoid, but my intuition tells me I'm right. One morning I found a silk scarf in the laundry room, embroidered with an elaborate L. Not mine, not Helen's. She dressed like a Puritan. I handed it to Jason over breakfast. "Whose is this?" He froze, his coffee mug raised to his lips. Probably Mom's," he muttered, eyes glued to the toast. Helen, flipping pancakes, didn't miss a beat. "Oh, that old thing? Must have dug it out of a drawer." If you found something strange in your home, something that didn't belong to you and no one could explain, how would you react? Do you trust your intuition? Or have you ever had a gut feeling that something is hidden? Share your intuition story or wake-up call. Someone might need to hear it today. They were fluffier than a used car salesman's, but I didn't buy it. I stuffed the scarf into my pocket and started making a mental list. Move 1, stormy night, no storm. Move 2, sunny afternoon, squirrel, excuse. By move 6, I was one step away from going crazy. I kept rewinding to happier times to calm down, like the night Jason proposed under the stars in Eden Park, promising forever with that goofy smile I'd fallen for. We were madly in love, or so I thought. Now, he barely looked at me, snapping if I asked about the bill or why he hadn't painted the house in months. I felt like a ghost in my own house, creeping around the family to keep the peace. But that pot, that stupid, cheesy pot, was my breaking point. It taunted me, screamed. "Something's wrong, you naive fool." Finally, my mind was spinning with doubts I couldn't shake, so I rebelled. One night, I was hunched over my laptop in the living room. A quick search for a hidden security camera led me to a little gadget. No hesitation, no second thoughts. I clicked buy now with express delivery, my heart pounding. The package arrived the next day. I sneaked it in while Jason was out. Noah was at school, Helen was at her book club, so the house was mine. I ripped open the box, hands shaking, and found the compact camera. Perfect. I chose the balcony where the flower pot was and tiptoed out. I inserted the device, tilting it to capture the entire porch. Then I synced it to my phone, fumbling with the app until the feed flickered. I whispered, "Activate it." Thanks to that camera, I figured out why that pot kept moving, and it wasn't squirrels. I was 200 miles away, holed up in a Cleveland hotel after a conference, when I checked the camera app on my phone. I'd hidden the little spy device in a fake fern on the balcony, expecting maybe a raccoon to steal the petals. Instead, I had a front row seat to watch my life fall apart. The feed flashed, and there she was, a woman walking into my house like she owned it. Moments after Helen had pulled the pansy pot out of sight, Jason greeted her with a hug and a smile I hadn't seen since our dating days. My stomach clenched. I zoomed in, hands shaking, and almost threw the phone across the room. It was Lily. Lily, his ex-girlfriend from college, the one he swore was ancient history. Apparently, history was repeating itself. The balcony door was ajar, and the audio picked up everything. Jason and Helen had no idea they were broadcasting a betrayal. Lily was the artistic type, think flowing scarves and too much eyeliner, who would often drop by our house for group dates that felt like auditions for Jason's attention. I'd always felt something about her, like she was judging me while complimenting my curtains. Now there she was, curled up in my living room. But what was the real punch in the gut? Helen had come in from the kitchen carrying a tray of coffee cups, chatting with them like they were planning a fucking book club. She wasn't just into it, she was being a great hostess. I sat there, alone in that hotel room, watching my husband and his mistress laugh and joke with my mother-in-law. My heart was about to burst, but I didn't cry for long. I was too angry. I pressed pause on my meltdown and started thinking. I'd let it all slide before, the little moments that seemed off but were buried under the pressure of my work. Like how Lily and Jason always had old friends get-togethers when I was away. I tore it up because, I'm not that kind of wife. Or how Helen would get defensive if I mentioned Jason's laziness, gushing about how he'd found himself. He was clearly in Lily's arms. Then came the gallery opening 2 years ago, when I was overwhelmed by the need to rewrite the curriculum. I'd ignored it, but now I remember a picture of Lily on Instagram, her, Jason, and Helen grinning like they'd won the lottery. I thought, oh, Helen is so supportive, like they'd been laughing at me for years. My 6-year-old son, Noah, had an old iPad he used to draw on apps. Jason never checked it. I turned it on and it lit up with a messaging app, and my heart jumped when I saw the name at the top, Lily. Not a coworker, not a cousin, just Lily. There was a messaging app that Jason hadn't logged out of, filled with conversations with Lily. I typed, my hands sweaty, months of messages, full of sweet can't wait to see you and she's coming this weekend. I almost choked. Big plans, when Amy leaves next week, we'll finish it, one person said. Another, Mom says we need to act fast before she finds out. Yes, Mom, was Helen. They weren't just playing, they were plotting to trick me. I dug deeper, my coffee growing cold. The messages laid it all out. They'd been doing this for months, maybe longer. Lily wrote about our future as if I were a speed bump. Jason responded with a heart emoji, really classy. But the worst? A thread about me. If we play it right, she's gonna look unstable, Jason typed. Mom's hiding the lawyer angle. My jaw hit the floor. They were building a case to paint me as a workaholic, too depressed to keep a house. Or Noah. I taught Bronte for a living, but this was next level villainy. I wasn't done yet. I wanted to storm home and set their world on fire. I called my friend Sarah, who had gone through her own divorce, and never painted it rosy. I may, she said, her voice cracking over the phone. You have receipts. Get a lawyer, not a breakdown. She was right. I Googled Ohio divorce laws between sessions, skimming through information about custody and property division. When I hung up, I had a plan. Stay quiet, keep collecting, strike when they least expected it. I was fighting not just for myself, but for Noah, who deserved a mother who wouldn't let snakes crawl through her life. I saved every screenshot, every video clip, every bank statement. My phone was like a time bomb, and I was the one setting the timer. Jason and Lily thought they were being smart, with Helen cheering them on. Little did they know that I was about to flip the script. Reddit, do you ever feel like you're one step away from losing your mind, but miraculously still alive? That was me, plotting in a hotel room, ready to burn their house of lies to the ground. I flew back from Cleveland, my phone burning a hole in my pocket with all the dirt I dug up. I could have confronted Jason right there in the airport parking lot, but that's amateur hour. Instead, I called a divorce lawyer named Karen, who sounded like she ate cheaters for breakfast over coffee at a diner, because I wasn't about to discuss my life's collapse in a Starbucks. She laid it out. Ohio's a no-fault state, but Jason's financial shenanigans and affair could tip things my way, especially for custody of Noah, my 6-year-old. Get your ducks in a row, Karen said, stabbing her eggs. Bank accounts, assets, proof, lock it down. I nodded, already mentally burying Jason's dreams in paperwork. First move, money. I wasn't letting Jason and Helen drain our accounts like they were funding a rom-com sequel. I opened a new bank account at a credit union, one Jason didn't know existed, and started redirecting my paychecks there. No big withdrawals to tip them off, just quiet, boring transfers Karen approved. I also found a receipt in Jason's email trash because apparently he's too lazy to cover his tracks. A diamond bracelet for Lily, bought with our joint account, classy. I forwarded it to Karen with a note, Exhibit A, his priorities. It wasn't just proof of cheating, it was proof he thought I was too dumb to notice. Big mistake, buddy. Back home, I turned into an Oscar-worthy actress. Picture me smiling over dinner, asking Jason, how's Noah's school stuff going, while he mumbled about field trips. I even chatted with Helen about her book club, nodding as she droned on about some mystery novel. Irony, right? Every word was a test, and they failed spectacularly. I brought up gardening once, all casual. Hey Helen, maybe we should get more pansies for the balcony. Jason choked on his water and Helen launched into a speech about soil pH levels. Soil pH, my ass. They were sweating and I was sipping my wine, memorizing every flinch. But I wasn't just playing nice, I was hunting. Karen needed more than screenshots to nail Jason to the wall, so I kept the camera rolling on the balcony. It caught Helen muttering to Jason one morning, thinking I was at work. You need to call Greg soon. She's asking too many questions. Greg, the sleazy lawyer from their emails. I saved that clip like it was fine art. I also found a notebook in Helen's purse. Yes, I snooped. Sue me, where she jotted down bank account numbers and a reminder, check with L about lease. L for Lily. The pieces were clicking together and I was the one holding the puzzle box. Then I hit the mother lode, a late night dive into our home computer while Jason was passed out and Helen was snoring. Turned up a folder labeled taxes, real creative, Jason. Inside was a draft contract for an art gallery space downtown signed by Lily, Jason, and wait for it, Helen as a silent partner. They weren't just screwing around, they were planning to use my money to bankroll their bohemian fantasy. The lease was in Helen's name, probably to keep it off Jason's radar if I checked our accounts. Sneaky, but not sneaky enough. I printed it, tucked it in my lockbox, and added a post-it for Karen. They thought I'd pay for their masterpiece. The audacity floored me. I teach literature, so I'm used to villains, but these three were writing a tragedy starring me as the fool. I found more, an email from Lily to Jason about keeping things low-key until the paperwork's done. Paperwork, huh? Like the divorce they wanted to spring on me with lies about my mental health? I wasn't just angry, I was inspired. Every discovery was fuel, turning my heartbreak into a blueprint. I stayed up nights, laptop glowing, cross-referencing their plans with Karen's advice. If they wanted a fight, I'd bring a war. Still, I had moments where I almost cracked. One night, Noah climbed into my lap, asking why I looked sad. I hugged him, promising I'd fix everything, but my chest ached. What if I lost him? What if Jason's lies worked and a judge bought their unstable mom act? I pushed those thoughts down, focusing on the plan. Karen was building a case tighter than a drum, and I was feeding her gold. More videos of Lily's visits, audio of Jason whining to Helen about Amy's schedule like it justified his betrayal. Even a text from Lily I nabbed off Noah's iPad about celebrating once it's over. Over? Not on my watch. I decided the showdown would go down at Noah's 7th birthday party. Why? Because it was the one day Jason and Helen couldn't dodge me, with friends and neighbors packed in our house. I'd have an audience, and they'd have nowhere to hide. I started scripting it in my head like one of my lectures, but with higher stakes. I'd play the perfect mom, blowing up balloons and frosting cupcakes while they squirmed. Karen had the legal side locked, custody motions, financial claims, the works. All I needed was to keep cool a little longer. I wasn't sleeping much, running on coffee in spite. Every time I smiled at Jason, I saw him with Lily. Every time Helen offered me tea, I pictured her signing away my future, but I didn't waver. I was done being their doormat. Reddit, you know that feeling when you're so mad, you're calm? That was me, sharpening my claws, ready to rip their cozy little plot to shreds. Noah's party was coming, and I was bringing more than cake. The house buzzed with balloons, streamers, and the chaos of a dozen kids hyped on sugar. Neighbors chatted over lemonade, Noah ran around in a superhero cape, and I played the perfect mom, refilling chip bowls with a smile faker than a reality show tan. Jason lounged by the grill, flipping burgers like he wasn't a walking cliche. Helen fussed with napkins, probably praying I'd stay clueless forever. And Lily, I made sure she was there. RSP'd with a personal invite disguised as a group text. Wouldn't be the same without you, I'd written, biting back a laugh. She showed up in a sundress, all giggles, thinking she'd won. Spoiler, she hadn't. I'd rigged the living room for maximum impact. A projector sat innocently on the coffee table, hooked to my laptop, which I'd told everyone was for a special Noah montage. Sure, Jan. Really, it was loaded with the greatest hits of Jason's betrayal, courtesy of my balcony camera and some late-night file organizing. Karen, my lawyer, had greenlit the plan, warning me to keep it civil for the courts. Civil? I could do that, but I wasn't promising nice. I waited, heart thumping like a bass line, watching Lily sip punch and Jason avoid my eyes. The clock ticked. Showtime was coming. After the kids sang Happy Birthday off-key, Noah beaming over his Spider-Man cake, I clapped my hands. Hey, everyone, gather round. Got a little video to share. Jason shot me a look, half confused, half annoyed, but followed the crowd to the living room. Helen hovered by the couch, clutching a paper plate like a shield. Lily perched near the back, clueless. I hit play and the projector lit up the wall. No adorable baby photos here. Instead, it was Lily strolling into my house like she paid the mortgage, Jason wrapping her in a hug that screamed more than friends, and Helen serving coffee with a smile I wanted to slap off her face. The room went dead quiet, except for a kid crunching chips in the corner. I didn't stop there. I pulled out my phone, voice steady as steel, and read aloud a gem from Jason's messages. Can't wait to start over with you. Just need to wrap things up here. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I held up a printed bank statement, waving it like a flag. This is our savings, folks, funneled to a secret account. Guess who helped? I pointed at Helen, who looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Then I dropped the lawyer email, the one plotting to call me crazy. They wanted my house, my kid, my life. Surprise, I'm not that easy to erase. Jason stammered, face redder than the ketchup bottle. Hey May, this isn't— Come on, you're twisting it. Twisting it? I almost laughed. Twisting what, Jason? Your girlfriend moving in, or your mom playing bookkeeper for your scam? Neighbors whispered, kids got shooed to the backyard, and Lily tried to shrink into the wallpaper. Helen opened her mouth, then shut it, probably realizing her book club alibis wouldn't cut it. I kept going, calm as a sniper. You thought I'd roll over. You thought wrong. Lily bolted for the door, but not before my friend Tara, bless her, blocked her path. Where are you going, hun? Show's not over. Tara's husband Mike piped up, voice loud enough to wake the dead. I knew something was fishy when you kept dodging my texts, Jason. Should have said something. Ouch. Even Jason's old college buddy was done with him. Lily pushed past, heels clicking, leaving a trail of shame thicker than her perfume. The room was a minefield now, half the guests staring at Jason, the other half at me like I'd grown horns or a halo. I saved the knockout for last. I slid a manila folder across the coffee table, right under Jason's nose. Divorce papers, I said, loud enough for the cheap seats. Sign them, or we'll let a judge decide who looks worse. His hands shook, but he didn't touch it. Helen sank into a chair, muttering something about misunderstandings. Misunderstandings? Sure, like forgetting to mention your son's a cheater. I turned to the crowd, voice cutting through the tension. I loved this man. I trusted her, like family. They chose to burn that down. I'm done forgiving. Noah tugged my hand, eyes wide. Mom, why is everyone mad? My heart cracked, but I knelt, smoothing his hair. Grown-up stuff, buddy. We're gonna be okay. I stood, grabbed my purse, and walked out, leaving Jason and Helen to stew in their mess. Outside, Tara caught up, squeezing my arm. You're a badass, Amy. I managed a nod, but badass or not, I felt like I'd run a marathon through a hurricane. The papers were out, the truth was bare, and I was free, or at least I was getting there. Reddit, ever drop a bomb and walk away feeling like a warrior and a wreck? That was me, driving to my sister's place with Noah asleep in the back seat, wondering if I just won or lost everything. One thing's for sure, Jason and Helen didn't see that coming. And I wasn't done yet. The fallout was brutal but poetic. The judge didn't just grant me the divorce, he handed Jason a bill for emotional and financial damages that made his eyes bug out. Spoiler, he was broke. No savings, no art career, just a sad apartment and a court order to pay me back, dollar by dollar. Last I heard, he's slinging coffee at a dive bar, scrubbing tables to cover his debt. Karma's a barista, and she doesn't tip. Lily? She got slapped with a tax fraud charge after I sent Karen's dossier to the IRS. Turns out, her art grants were as real as her loyalty. She skipped town, tail between her legs, probably dodging creditors in some hipster hamlet. Helen packed her bags and vanished to her sisters in Toledo. No calls, no texts. Guess I'm not family anymore. Good riddance. I didn't waste tears on them. Noah and I moved to a cozy downtown loft, all big windows and zero bad memories. It's not a mansion, but it's ours. I kept teaching, trading lecture halls for smaller seminars so I could be home for dinner. Noah's my anchor. His giggles over mac and cheese nights are better than any therapy. I started journaling too, scribbling down every snarky thought about my old life. It's not Shakespeare, but it keeps me sane. One entry just says, Jason's an idiot. I'm not. Frameworthy. I found my tribe too. A divorce support group at the community center became my happy hour, full of women who get it. My favorite's Rachel, a baker who calls her ex Satan's intern and brings killer scones. She dragged me to a pottery class. Yes, I'm that cliche now. And I made a lopsided mug Noah loved. Rachel's laugh is infectious, reminding me I'm not just a mom or a prof. I'm a May. Noah's thriving, thank God. We spend weekends at the park, him zooming down slides while I sip coffee that doesn't taste like betrayal. I'm honest with him in kid terms. Some people made bad choices, but we're a team. He gets it, mostly. One day he came home with a painting from school, a bright yellow house with 2 stick figures, me and him under a rainbow. No red flowers, no shadows. I hung it above our couch, my new centerpiece. When he wraps his arms around me, calling mom like it's a prize, I know we're solid. Looking back, that pansy pot wasn't just a clue, it was a wake-up call. It taught me to trust my gut even when it's screaming something ugly. I don't hate it anymore, it's just a ghost. I bought a new plant for our balcony, daisies, pure and simple. No secrets, no schemes. Every time I water them, I'm reminded I grew something stronger than their mess. Me. Reddit. Ever rebuild after a storm and realize you're the sunshine? That's where I'm at, smirking at my own comeback. I'm Amy Blake, and I didn't just survive, I won. If you've ever experienced betrayal by a family member, someone you once thought was a safe haven, Amy's story may have brought back memories that are hard to name. Have you ever had to stay silent, waiting for the right moment to claim justice? Have you ever been forced to choose between false peace and true self-respect? Share your story in the comments. Whether it's a small memory or a major transformation, you're not alone. What you share may be a beacon of light for someone in a similar situation. Thank you for sticking around, and if you found this story to be personally relatable, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share the video with anyone you think might need a reminder that sometimes we don't have to stay in a place where we're not respected. We deserve so much more.